we decided like we wanted this to go very till here because it's Reassembly, and also because no one is gonna come in. So I think there's something to do with this.
So now mute yourself, Serge. Ooh, smile. Remember the smile.
You can feel that what's an episode.
Restart. I haven't finished.
I enjoyed it.
And you're just gonna restart and turn it off and on again. Oof, qué miedo.
Where did you guys watch the director They Call Me By Your Name, Guadagno, the one on BBC?
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
How did you like it? That was
What is
HBO
the
or-
name? It was HBO, but it was on
Okay.
BBC.
We Are Who You
Yeah, we are.
Twenty 2020 has been a strange year. The uncertainty that's come with it, amplifying feelings of stress, anxiety, depression, loneliness. While in quarantine, I built Bump Galaxy, a virtual world and community for mental health. In it, players can visit several different care commons, a forest for breathing meditations, sand dunes where you can reflect on your dreams, a snowfield and underwater temple designed for hypnotic imaginings. In Bump Galaxy, players can meet different mental health professionals from around the world. Imagine a joint therapy session with a relationship counselor from Sweden and a hypnotherapist in Japan. Imagine participating in a collective sound bath in the rainforest by one of your favorite DJs. My name is Bianca Carage. I'm a social designer and natural healer. As someone who does energy work and guided meditations, I've always wanted to work with a psychotherapist to give clients the care I wasn't qualified to provide. What if different health professionals collaborated, supplementing conventional methods with alternative therapies to provide more personalized, holistic healthcare experiences in a game world that actually meets the level of intimacy many of us crave, that conventional telehealth platforms lack? So what does it mean to bump into each other, actually? To gently collide, in surprising and meaningful ways pregnant with possibility. Let's build a world where caring for each other means playing together, because we are living in a game world, one in which we can modify the code if we like. So I'm just gonna give a quick tour. When you first enter the server, you spawn here in the central island. It's a floating island where there's this info pavilion where you can find everything you need to know about the server. Frequently asked questions, how to book an appointment with a therapist, rules, And over here we have potion fountains, where players can get potions that give them different special effects, like night vision or invisibility. And over here are hanging trees. When you interact with them, they take you to a form, so you can book a session with a therapist or leave a review. Then over here is the clubhouse, just a common area where people can hang out, socialize, meet each other. And now I'll show you around the different care commons. These are shared landscapes designed for different types of care. So first we have the meditation forest. Here the focus is on meditation and breathing, targeting anxiety and stress. So how it works is you walk through this tunnel to get a tree sapling and signage. Press one of these buttons to access a meditation or a guiding breathing exercise. Then you choose any place in the forest where you want to plant the tree. Let's say you want to plant the tree here. So you plant it and then close your eyes and meditate. Basically, you're waiting for the tree to grow while you're meditating. But when you're done, the tree will have fully grown and you can place your sign next to it and type down anything you realize while meditating or any message you want to share with the community. Then you can come back here, walk through this tunnel to collect resources which you can use to build on the landscape. These resources, by the way, are specific to the meditation forest. Each of the other commons have their own unique set of resources. The next is the sand dune dreamscape. Here, the goal is to help people build their intuitive muscles so they can reflect on their dreams and uncover for themselves how their dreams can help them in their waking lives. So over here are buttons for people to access pre-recorded guided dream meditations and a chest where you can get a book and quill to journal. And now we choose any place in the sand dunes where we want to meditate, after which we can journal what we realized. And when we're done, we put the journal in one of these chests. A brown one to be published publicly so anyone can read what you've written. But if you want to keep your journal private, you can put it in this blue chest. Then, like in the forest, you can walk through the tunnel to get your resources, again specific to the sand dune dreamscape, and use them to build things anywhere. And from the sand dunes, you can actually enter 2020 2020 has been a strange year. The uncertainty that's come with it. And that's it. Thanks for joining the tour. This therapy session is between an energy healer, a psychotherapist, and one client. The practitioners decide to start out their session in the clubhouse to quickly brief their client about how things are gonna go. They then teleport to the meditation forest. Here, the energy healer asks the client to walk through the arc to collect a wooden signage and oak tree sapling. The client also presses a button to get a guided meditation and passes through this tunnel to collect some building blocks and resources. This is the currency for having used one of the care commons. The energy healer then tells the client, choose any place in this forest that intuitively feels right for you and plant your tree there. And as the client meditates on their tree, the energy healer performs the attunement, aligning the client's chakras with universal life force energy. After the meditation and attunement, the client opens their eyes to find that the tree is fully grown and types on the wooden signage a message they want to leave behind for the community. There will be many things to unpack and discuss after an energy attunement. What did the practitioner feel? How was the client's experience? And what are some points of reflection? The psychotherapist takes the lead at this point, taking them to the shadow portal, where they can get into deeper conversations about the client's emotions and experiences in relation to things the energy healer brought up in the forest. Blocks in energy may have to do with a person's shadow self. Did the healer feel blocks around the heart chakra? Then the therapist talks the client through their limiting beliefs around love. If the energy around the throat chakra felt a bit low, Then they can explore the communication in the client's personal and professional relationships. After the session, the psychotherapist tells the client to journal about their thoughts and leave the journal behind in one of the chests. They then return to the central archive, where the client can leave a review by interacting with one of the hanging trees. After which, they chat a bit more before saying their goodbyes.
Soft rubble is a textile construction system that positions building waste as building material. It consists of a series of 3-meter tall bags that can be filled and emptied repeatedly to form rigid stone walls and produce a variety of spatial configurations. With soft rubble, I'm looking into how one can start building with something that so obviously reads as the end of a building. Building rubble, so mixed concrete, brick and stone, is one of the world's largest waste streams to date, which is usually downcycled to fill a material in the backfilling of quarries or building of roads. This means that essentially the same kind of matter that is previously extracted from the natural landscape as clay or sand returns to the same landscape in the form of waste. This way, the natural landscape we quarry turns into a landscape that stays untouched. What makes us quarry one landscape while we leave untouched this other, new man-made landscape? And how could we begin to see the same value in man-made material conglomerates that we see in natural raw matter? Global extraction industries look at quarrying as the retrieval of valuable raw matter from the natural landscape. However, this matter has not always been valuable. Take clay, for example. It took someone millennia ago to accidentally leave an odd sticky lump of mud close to the fire and see that it turns firm. With this observation came techniques of forming clay to vessels and to bricks, and with these objects came culture of eating from vessels and building with bricks. In this initial sense, quarrying is a cultural practice of developing value to the useless found matter through knowledge production, development of technique to create objects and integrate these through usage into the local culture. If you look at it from this angle, nature taught us to observe matter and its behavior, to see and create cultural value around it. Now, as landscapes change and are more and more permeated with human interference and alteration, this ability of quarrying, of creating value, can help us develop techniques of forming new man-made kinds of matter, such as building rubble, into a next generation of objects, form language and cultural narrative, even if this matter at first sight seems as ugly and odd as a sticky lump of mud or a blob-shaped bag of rubble.
Hello everybody, my name is Manon Aubry and I'm the creator of Y.A.N.T.A. Y.A.N.T.A stands for You Are Never Too Ambitious. It is a virtual reality environment to anticipate burnout, anxiety and depression, to take a break and to reconnect with the inner self, thanks to the digital shadow. I have started to develop this project at the Design Academy of Eindhoven in the Master Social Design. Today, you're gonna watch a movie called Y.A.N.T.A as a Ritual, where Y.A.N.T.A is being used during 1 week by a volunteer. Follow it by a conversation with the clinical psychologist Alexandra Lecard, with whom I'm reflecting on the potential of new technologies in the field of mental health. Bonjour Alexandra. Merci d'avoir accepté de rejoindre l'aventure Y.A.N.T.A depuis quelques semaines déjà lors de notre première rencontre dans votre centre des thérapies intégratives et des nouvelles technologies à Paris. Ensemble, nous aurions aimé tourner le court-métrage Y.A.N.T.A as a Ritual au sein même du centre, mais étant donné les circonstances de la crise sanitaire actuelle qu'on connaît tous, ce n'a malheureusement pas été possible. C'est pourquoi aujourd'hui, le film présenté lors du programme public dans le cadre de l'exposition Moving in Stasis au Het Nieuwe Instituut à Rotterdam a été tourné à mon domicile et que nous avons choisi d'enregistrer cette conversation réflexive. Donc, je suis aujourd'hui très heureuse de vous accueillir, Alexandra, pour un échange autour de l'utilisation des nouvelles technologies dans la pratique du design, développée en parallèle avec le domaine de la santé mentale et du paramédical. Pourriez-vous vous présenter en quelques mots et nous en dire un petit peu plus sur votre centre à Paris, dont vous êtes la directrice et la créatrice?
Bonjour Manon, merci beaucoup pour cette opportunité de parler avec vous des nouvelles technologies dans le soin médical et paramédical. Alors le centre de thérapie intégrative, donc les nouvelles technologies, a été ouvert à Paris l'année dernière en mai 2020. Voilà, donc il intègre des psychologues et des thérapeutes qui utilisent et pratiquent notamment la thérapie virtuelle. Donc une thérapie qui consiste à traiter les patients par les nouvelles technologies et notamment la thérapie virtuelle, donc l'immersion avec un casque 3D qui expose le patient à des situations anxiogènes. Voilà, donc on ne fait pas que ces thérapies au centre, mais c'est vraiment une antenne chez nous très importante puisqu'on essaye d'être un centre voilà, qui s'ouvre aux nouvelles technologies et qui propose des soins voilà, un petit peu plus modernes, sachant que de toute façon, on propose tous les soins psychologiques de la psychanalyse aux thérapies virtuelles actuellement. Donc voilà, on intègre plusieurs approches en une. Et les nouvelles technologies sont la psychanalyse aux thérapies virtuelles actuellement. Donc voilà, on intègre plusieurs approches en une. Et les nouvelles technologies sont un apport assez considérable et un beau champ des possibles.
Donc, en ce sens, j'aimerais vous poser la question suivante, Alexandra. Quelle est votre opinion sur l'utilisation des nouvelles technologies dans le domaine de la santé mentale?
Alors, mon opinion, elle est plutôt positive et optimiste, évidemment. Moi, j'étais stagiaire à la Pitié-Salpêtrière à Paris, dans un grand hôpital, donc il y a un petit peu plus de 10 ans déjà. Et à l'époque, voilà, je ne connaissais pas du tout les approches thérapie nouvelles technologies. Et j'étais rentrée dans un service du CNRS avec des psychologues qui, effectivement, traitaient les patients et notamment leurs phobies par l'approche virtuelle. Voilà, donc ça m'avait beaucoup intéressée et j'étais à l'affût quand j'avais ouvert mon activité en libéral après avoir été diplômée, voilà, d'avoir accès à ce genre d'outils qui sont pour moi toujours pas des thérapies en soi, mais des outils. Enfin, c'est comme ça que je les utilise en tout cas. J'ai pu constater avec la pratique que vraiment il y a une accélération des résultats souvent et une approche ludique qui est vraiment très intéressante, qui fait que des patients qui m'ont confié qu'ils n'avaient jamais fait de thérapie auparavant avaient pu avoir accès aux soins psychologiques parce qu'ils ont appris qu'il y avait des nouvelles technologies, que c'était plus ludique et que ça paraissait peut-être plus proche d'eux ou dans l'air du temps. Il y a des jeunes, mais il y a aussi des personnes très mûres et qui justement avaient attendu des années pour faire une approche psychologique, qui, par l'arrivée des nouvelles technologies, se sont dit peut-être, avec la croyance un petit peu erronée, mais ça on revoit après, que les nouvelles technologies, ça peut guérir en 2-3 séances. Donc pas du tout. Et ils l'acceptent assez rapidement. Et après, oui, c'est sûr, c'est un process thérapeutique, je l'entends. Et en tout cas, les nouvelles technologies aident souvent les personnes c'est un média, c'est un support qui permet d'approcher la psychologie d'une autre manière, Donc, c'est une approche parmi d'autres, hein, évidemment. Il y a à peu près 400 approches en psychologie aujourd'hui. Donc, c'est une parmi d'autres, mais je trouve que c'est un support très intéressant pour beaucoup de personnes, d'appréhender le soin par quelque chose de concret, qui aide dans une immersion anxiogène, mais préparée, progressive, à traiter des pathologies plus ou moins graves. Et il y a des très bons résultats.
Pour rebondir sur cette idée justement d'outils de l'environnement Y.A.N.T.A, j'utilise l'ombre digitale également comme outil pour engager la conversation avec le moi intérieur en termes thérapeutiques. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de l'utilisation de l'ombre digitale pour ce genre d'environnement thérapeutique?
Alors moi, je trouve que c'est une excellente idée. J'avais pu tester votre matériel quand vous étiez venu à Paris, qu'on avait pu l'essayer ensemble. L'ombre permet vraiment une immersion assez totale, je dirais, une projection de la personne. J'ai testé d'autres environnements virtuels, des environnements que j'utilise actuellement, où il n'y a pas toujours d'ombre dans les différents environnements virtuels. Et c'est quelque chose que les patients nous renvoient. Soit tout de suite, il y a des gens qui regardent, quand c'est au réflexe de regarder un peu par terre, peut-être justement pour chercher leur ombre et qui ne la trouvent pas. Et des fois, des personnes qui ne l'avaient pas noté, mais qui s'en rendent compte un petit peu plus tard. Donc, je pense que l'ombre dans votre environnement virtuel, c'est vraiment une manière de projeter assez naturellement quelque chose de simple et d'archaïque, en fait, d'assez évident. Donc, comme dans votre environnement, il y a du soleil, on est dans le désert. Pouvoir se repérer au niveau psychocorporel et aussi dans l'espace-temps, je trouve. Le fait qu'on puisse comme ça aller où on veut, déambuler dans cet espace et se retrouver face à son ombre, ça donne des indicateurs, ça renvoie une image de soi qui permet de rappeler quelque part qu'on est bien là, dans l'ici et le maintenant, qui rappelle un petit peu des techniques de mindfulness en psychologie, par exemple. Et puis, je trouve ça intéressant de projeter une part de soi, comme vous disiez, quelque chose d'un petit peu onirique, une projection comme ça immersive qui est virtuelle et pourtant qui est un petit peu aussi évidente. Un prolongement de soi, une ombre peut-être imparfaite, un peu primitive, comme disait Carl Jung, mais qui permet un champ des possibles dans une projection de soi, imparfaite comme ça et un petit peu floue, et en même temps évidente, et qui permet, je pense, dans votre espace de se projeter dans ce champ des possibles, dans l'environnement et un peu aussi dans soi-même.
Après le visionnage du film, donc que j'ai tourné la semaine dernière, que pensez-vous des effets de Y.A.N.T.A en utilisation quotidienne? Donc, c'est-à-dire vraiment comme rituel qui serait encore à définir, mais dans l'idée d'une utilisation non pas éphémère en une fois, mais dans lequel on retourne et on revient et il y a cette idée de ongoing, de working process qui ne s'arrête jamais, qui n'a pas de fin ou de finalité définie. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez d'une utilisation quotidienne de Y.A.N.T.A?
Moi, je la trouve très pertinente. Effectivement, on sait dans les processus psychologiques, surtout en thérapie comportementale, par exemple, et cognitive, qu'une exposition unique, c'est une expérience, mais ça ne va pas forcément modifier certains réflexes cognitifs, comportementaux, émotionnels, etc. Je pense que ce qui est vraiment intéressant, là, c'est une utilisation justement, alors peut-être pas quotidienne, mais moi, je dirais plusieurs fois par semaine, c'est possible. Un peu comme du sport, finalement, où on entraîne le cerveau, là, ou les émotions, le corps à se lâcher et à se rencontrer dans un espace du coup virtuel, mais là c'est le champ des possibles dont on parle, si possible quotidiennement, mais à mon avis de manière régulière, effectivement, comme toute thérapie déjà classique, et aussi dans le mindfulness, et aussi dans la relaxation, aussi dans la méditation. Ça, c'est des exercices qui reviennent régulièrement pour justement reconditionner les personnes à des habitudes de lâcher prise, de reconnexion avec soi. Et effectivement, moi, je recommanderais cet environnement, cette exposition vraiment régulière, plusieurs fois par semaine.
Et donc, dans ce sens, est-ce qu'on pourrait trouver des avantages et des inconvénients à Y.A.N.T.A si on considère en tant qu'environnement thérapeutique?
On peut commencer par les inconvénients parce qu'il n'y en a pas beaucoup. Voilà, peut-être toujours améliorer le design et la finesse des lignes dans un environnement virtuel. C'est la première chose que les patients, voilà, moi j'utilise d'autres supports, c'est la première chose que les patients soulignent, pointent. C'est toujours ah bah ça c'est pas très réaliste, ah bah c'est pas exactement comme ça. Je pense qu'ils essayent de se raccrocher, surtout au début d'une thérapie virtuelle, à tous les petits défauts qui viendraient leur rappeler que c'est pas un environnement réel. En même temps, c'est l'avantage puisqu'il ne s'agit pas de faire croire au patient qu'il est dans la vraie vie aussi. Les avantages, bah, il y en a plein. C'est vraiment de pouvoir, dans un temps illimité, puisque je crois que le principe, c'est que la personne puisse rester le temps qu'elle veut, avec un casque autonome, avec en tout cas une belle autonomie au niveau de la batterie, qui permet, le cadre pour une fois, sans être oppressé par le temps, de pouvoir mettre ce casque et partir, quoi. Partir et se laisser conscience du moment présent. Ils arrivent à faire cet arrêt photo sur une image qui les a pleinement ressourcés, en fait. C'est des images qui ressourcent et qui sont souvent dans la nature. C'est les souvenirs, les images qui marquent les gens le plus fort, j'ai l'impression. Et la personne, dans ce contexte naturel, en fait, qui rappelle des choses certainement archaïques et qui amènent vraiment à la détente, à pouvoir se lâcher et à déambuler dans cet espace-temps virtuel qui s'arrêtera quand on le souhaite, où on peut aller où on veut et se projeter comme on le souhaite. C'est vraiment un espace, je pense que c'est une bulle. Moi, j'ai bien aimé l'expérience, en tout cas.
Pour finir, la dernière question, j'aimerais savoir si vous pensez que Y.A.N.T.A serait plus bénéfique en utilisation individuelle ou suivie par un professionnel du paramédical.
Je dirais les deux. J'espère qu'un jour, les individus, les personnes pourront avoir accès assez facilement aux nouvelles technologies associées aux soins et pourront mettre un casque comme ça, pas que pour jouer aux jeux vidéo. Enfin, aujourd'hui, la réalité virtuelle, elle est vraiment partout dans plein de domaines. Et l'utiliser de cette manière pour se détendre et pas forcément que se divertir, en tout cas dans la population, mise à part la domotique ou la médecine. Mais je pense que peut-être l'individu, le particulier, il n'a pas tellement accès encore à ça, à part dans le divertissement. Et vraiment l'installation d'un casque comme ça autonome qui permettrait aux gens dans des cadres précis d'environnement, penser à l'avance, de détente, de lâcher prise et d'environnement où on peut se retrouver avec soi-même. Je trouve ça vraiment pertinent de pouvoir y avoir accès de manière individuelle. Et à mon avis, là, complètement indiqué au niveau paramédical. Moi, en tout cas, je m'en sers déjà. J'utilise des environnements de relaxation virtuels déjà pour des indications comme la dépression, l'anxiété, évidemment, la confiance en soi aussi. Et les effets sont vraiment intéressants. Les patients sont très surpris de très rapidement oublier que c'est du virtuel et pouvoir se lâcher comme ça et juste interagir avec l'environnement naturel. C'est très intéressant et des fois, ça libère la parole.
Donc, les deux possibilités sont à envisager et à creuser.
Ni à exclure et même
merci énormément.
De rien, merci à vous, Marie.
I remember my first warp. The Instagram post reads, like threading 200 plus needles. Written with a mixture of glee and dread. The warp and the weft. The warp and the weft. The warp and the weft goes left. Black is warp, weft is white. Weft goes.
I'm a weaver, a master weaver. I thought a loom were the best cloths made. Plain cloth, twill, brocade or satin. I'm the master of my trade.
The warping mill. Cheese winder, hank winder and cone winder, pedals, reeds and beaters, the front bar, apron, cloth beam, and shuttle. The winding, the threading, the threading, the threading, the threading, the threading. The slaying, the slaying, the slaying. The tying. The ends, the set, the dents per inch, the shed, the floats, the finish, the picks, and the drafts. Straight, block, and point. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. The inch of plain weave, tight and secure, the most stable structure, the beginning and ending, and every experiment in between.
In times when the World Wide Web is as intense and seductive as it is today, when you love to bathe in information euphoria and flood your brain with all kinds of digital input, the equation is simple. The more skimming and multitasking you do, the faster you exhaust the capacity of your focus. Your attention span is decreasing, you are unlearning to deeply engage with content, and you feel exhausted by the oversupply of stimuli. So instead of constantly searching for more and more information and getting completely lost in all the data, the idea of the Attention Lab is to look back at what you've already found interesting. Imagine a program that uses eye tracking techniques to identify your highest cognitive response while interacting with your laptop. It would be able to understand exactly where your gaze touches the screen. A quick, jerky saccadic fixation of your gaze on a small area of the screen reveals high personal interest. The program would not only collect these visual moments that caught your strongest attention, but it would also be able to document their intensity by measuring the length and also the dynamics of your gaze. And imagine if you could experience these insights by stepping into your own personal digital mind landscape, a place where you could reflect, deepen, and reopen your attention by simply taking a digital walk through your thoughts. 1. Reflect. The fragments are arranged in a chronological time of day scale to show the moments when they were taken. Go back in time and explore your focus of attention. By zooming out, you can read the rhythm of your focus. And by zooming in, you can explore its content. By comparing the rhythm between days, can you develop a sense of your attentional rhythm? 2. Deepen. Click on the fragments you want to explore further and resonate with them. The content constructs and deconstructs itself along the original gaze path to trigger thoughts from that moment and give space for your perspective. What are your thoughts as you perceive this content? 3. Open up. Gather the fragments you want to see in a different light. And enter the selection of your choice. A random generator will create new constellations from your selected fragments. Drag and drop them however you like. Can you think of combinations you never would have considered? That's what the Attention Lab team is working on right now. The goal is to build infrastructures that legitimize and encourage a sustainable culture for attention. It's about designing space and time to explore, observe and strengthen the fruits of your own attention, rather than dissolving it in the fleeting nature of today's digital hyperspace.
Way. Okay.
Spikes. Stretch. Pull it. Spread. Interaction. Unfold. Play. Pull. Turn. Reflexes. Spy. Suspect. Spy. Climb. Closer. Spiky. Invite. Closer. Further. Smoother. Pulling and pushing. Inviting. Collaborating. Interacting. Pull it. Entering. Merging. Enter. Feeling. Absorb. Merge. Reach. Pull. Caressing. Further. Closer. Away. Come. Up. Enough. No. Bounce. Bounce. Up. Bounce. Float. Away. Bounce. Fly. Away. Bump. Away. Cloud. Reach. Bounce. Push. Go. 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 Stop. Push it. Boundary. Effort. Escape. Hiding. No. Away. Reach. Reach away. Over. Stretch. Reach. Press. Clogged. Clog. Free. Go. Hope. down, cluttered. Invite, clogged, drained, clogged, drained. Heavy, heavy. Bored, still, small. Crumbled. Tiny. Still. Go. Alone. Me. Not me. Not. And back. Come back. Up. Hope. There. Live. Go.
is something to do with this.
Welcome to Made of Stories, or rather an explanation of a thesis project called Made of Stories. This project investigates various junctures at which design and storytelling intersect, with a view to storytelling as design practice. To tell the story of the project, this presentation is broken up into 3 distinct fields or acts. Act 1. Nuclear semiotics. Nuclear semiotics is the name given to a series of speculative projects commissioned for the US Department of Energy. The first official nuclear semiotics report was organized in 1984 by a group calling itself the Human Interference Task Force and included contributions from a range of invited experts. A similar report was commissioned in 1993 that included a fresh raft of contributors. The aim of both of these reports was to identify a means for best describing and to warn about the physical location of buried nuclear waste, tens of thousands, even millions of years into the future. Contributors to these projects were selected from a wide field of expertise, including linguistics, semiotics, architecture, engineering, public policy, nonverbal communication, material science, climatology, and archaeology, to name a few. By the way, this quote is from John Mann's book Alpha Beta, which looks at the installation of the Western alphabet as lingua franca, and there's more on this expression or terminology later. Further reports were commissioned based on the findings of these 2 original projects, and similar speculative projects on the topic of identifying nuclear waste repositories continue to be produced, often in an unofficial capacity, such as the Universal Warning Sign Yucca Mountain Design Competition, organized by a group calling themselves the Desert Space Foundation in 2003. Amongst experts elected to submit proposals for the 1993 report was architect and academic Michael Brill. Together with Safdar Abidi, Brill conceived of a series of architectural interventions into the landscape that could sit atop a nuclear waste repository. The names of the various interventions may have been dissuasion enough. For example, there was the Landscape of Thorns, Spikefield, Black Hole, Forbidding Blocks, and Menacing Earthworks, amongst others. A later project, and winning entry in 2003's Desert Space Foundation competition, looked at a more organic, although no less interventionalist, approach to altering the landscape atop nuclear waste sites. Aram Kabadijan's Blue Yucca Ridge proposal suggested a breed of yucca plants could be genetically modified to turn an alarming shade of cobalt blue when in proximity to radiation. This alteration will be present within the genetic code of the plant and therefore alert those in the future to the deliberate intervention and reason for the plant's unusual color. The image shown here is from a derivative project by Stéphane Perald based on Aram's earlier proposition. One of the more enduring proposals to date that possibly influenced the Blue Yucca work was not about genetically modified plants, but rather cats. Nicknamed Raycats, or the Raycat Project, the proposition that semiotician Pablo Fabri and author Francois Bestad came up with seems highly dubious on initial reading. But the genetic engineering of a breed of bioluminescent cats wasn't what they were primarily interested in. It was the story or the folklore built up around these cats that they thought would endure and continue to be shared and transmitted over time. This in fact is what has happened since they first published their proposal. Numerous articles, podcasts, and documentaries have been made about the story of the Ray Cats, perpetuating this constructed mythology, all without the need to actually genetically modify any non-humans. So, to summarize Act 1, when language fails. Fabry's Ray Cat proposal shows how mythologies can be engineered or designed through storytelling. More so, not only have these nuclear semiotics projects sustained and provoked renewed interest in their subject matter over the decades, they have also proliferated, with new, often independently produced projects building on their legacy. Here we find an example of the longevity storytelling imbues research with, and a role for designers in shaping and maintaining lore, just as narrative designers have begun to be credited for within the field of video game development. Act 2. In a panel discussion entitled Pass It On at the Wheeler Centre in Melbourne as part of NAIDOC Week in 2019, a group of academics and cultural producers met to discuss the many concerns to be addressed in facing the preservation of Aboriginal languages. A key issue was the perceived absence of formally documented vocabularies, ready to be archived and shared. In their place, a complexity of forms of language had evolved which were rich and diverse, but, in many cases, also in dire need of preservation. Vicky Cousins is an artist and Indigenous Research Fellow at RMIT University, where she has helped build and publish dictionaries of Aboriginal dialects and images as part of ongoing studies. On finding a starting point for language preservation, she said, "We don't have all of our words, and when we do get our words, how do we talk? My end game is fluent speakers, and that's going to take a long time. In the meantime, words are where we start." One of the obstacles to language preservation she recognizes is people being shamed because they don't know their language. They get scared because they want to speak it properly. Auntie Faye Stewart-Muir is an author and advisor to the National Curriculum on Language and Culture within so-called Australia. She explained that the people that have collected our words, the way they heard it was the way they wrote it down. Our language was oral and we didn't write things down, so there is a forensic audit that we need to go through with each word we find. Brendan Kennedy is a Victorian Aboriginal Corporation for Languages board member and has been involved in the development of various apps that capture and share Aboriginal languages. He brings up the issue of colonialised systems of education that often fail to properly incorporate Aboriginal culture into their curricula, and that this also erodes opportunities for preservation. He said, "Having taught language in schools, I noticed that our children are under threat of losing their Aboriginal English. There's a double-edged sword where we're being denied or prevented from reclaiming our heritage language, but we're also having our Aboriginal language removed from us." In many places, Aboriginal languages are being lost by the privileging of colonial lingua francas. In some cases, such as those found within so-called Australia, this name itself is a colonial overlay. These language groups also denoted pools of localized knowledge that were wide and varied. But as unsurmountable the piecing together of what is un- or partially known seems, based on discussions within the Pass It On event alone, there is an aspect of Aboriginal communication that has and continues to sustain, and that's the idea of the story. Patrick Nunn, in his book The Edge of Memory, credits the preservation of these stories to a narratological system of knowledge that was nurtured and passed on. He writes, "Many Aboriginal people expressly state the imperative of telling a story the correct way. something that not only ensures its content is accurate, but also that the ownership of the story is made explicit. So to summarize Act 2, when language fails, what's left is the story. Storytelling emerges from the complex terrain of language preservation and linguistic forensics as a type of contextual glue. Storytelling is enacted in binding language groups and knowledge pools together. Here forms a vision of stories as databases and as structures for containing and transmitting vital information across the idiosyncrasies of localized language and knowledge. Stories time travel. They harbour longevity. Act 3. Narratology. Narratology is not narration, storytelling, or fiction. Narratology is the study of the structures that support these fields, and the means for analysing and expanding upon literature and literary structures. Narratology has design in it, but rarely attracts attention from designers. Narratology creates design structures. These two diagrams are taken from a project called Narrations that is positioned, according to its instigators, at the intersection between literary studies, information visualization, and interface design. Both diagrams illustrate a piece of text or literature, although it would be impossible to tell this without the extensive documentation that supports this project, and in particular the lengthy design phase, which is discussed in great detail. This Narrations project exemplifies how far narratology has evolved in its embracing of diagramming, and therefore design, as a key or integral part of the field. Narratological diagrams evolved out of the field's formalist roots and has also opened up pathways between various disciplines. So far, narratological structures and techniques have been recognized in the study of ethics, law and legal discourse, as well as the study of gender, film theory, cognition, and various sciences, but not, as far as I know, design until now. Many disciplines have recognized the wealth of diagrammatical vessels that narratology employs, and that can be redeployed as tools for analysis. Templates ready to be emptied out of their literary references and refilled with all manner of subjects for pathways between various disciplines. So far, narratological structures and techniques have been recognized in the study of ethics, law and legal discourse, as well as the study of gender, film theory, cognition, and various sciences, but not, as far as I know, design until now. Many disciplines have recognized the wealth of diagrammatical vessels that narratology employs, and that can be redeployed as tools for analysis. Templates ready to be emptied out of their literary references and refilled with all manner of subjects for study. Shown here is an example of a narratological structure devised by Perry W. Thorndike based on a simple piece of literature which has been criticized for rendering this simple story bewilderingly complex in the way it has been mapped out. Y.A.N.T.A has become credited with introducing the diagram to narratological discourse and giving it an injection of postmodernism along the way, with her incorporating of dream maps into her fictional work. In incorporating these dream maps into her fictional work, she took various fractured narratives and melded them together to create new variants and forms. Her dream maps seem messy and unstructured, but they also ushered design to the fore and splintered narratological discourse, creating numerous access points that were not there before. So to summarize Act 3, When language fails, what's left is the story transmogrified into myth. Where narratology and diagramming meet, a clear connection between design and storytelling becomes evident. This connection has been undernourished by a lack of participation from design practitioners. To date, narratology is a realm where design happens with very little input from designers. And yet designers have been moving closer towards the design and build of fictions and mythologies via storytelling through their practices. And narratologists have been moving closer to designing and operating as designers themselves. This emerging overlap could provide the means to identify new ways of capturing and transmitting research. There is also the side benefit of opening up access to a wide range of disciplines from which mutually beneficial connections can be forged. The following is a bit of a segue. One happy outcome from the development of this thesis project has been the identifying of a story-based model for capturing and transmitting design research. And this is what it looks like. This formal-informal structure was envisaged as an innocuous conductive gel. Dropped into this gel are chunks of research which are used to flavor a story. These chunks consist of solid, impermeable, fact-based material. Conductive gel, because it allows for the transmission of factual material as well as creating a form that is able to be kept and archived. A number of stories have been written based on this shared structure and included the following guidance. So each story will be told by a voice within the story. The role of these voices is to act as proxy or agent for the reader. Because of this, character traits would only be described if the embedded research required it. This meant that most characters remained ungendered, unlocated, and without physical description. To similar effect, locations and timeframes were also omitted unless required in order to best stage the embedded research. So what provoked the Made of Stories project? Made of Stories was provoked by witnessing firsthand the vast quantity of design-based research projects or projects with an extensive research quotient attached to them being produced now and over the past few years by designers trying to work out ways to have less material impact on the world. Storytelling was identified as a way to sustain, archive, and further transmit projects beyond the limited durations of research or thesis cycles. The use of the term narrative has become embedded within design language in recent times, and this also needed unpacking. So how was storytelling being used? How is the story a useful vessel for designers in particular? What current concerns within design research did narrative and storytelling address? So many questions arose through researching this project and continue to resonate beyond these initial investigations. Which brings us to what's next. Made of Stories will continue to evolve and reiterate. A printed publication was produced, and this will be updated. And a publishing strategy in order to distribute this text or this publication is currently in development. If you're curious to find out more or to follow developments, information regarding updates and releases will be announced via the ResCat Instagram channel, which you can find at research.catalog on Instagram. You can also visit the Research Catalog website, which is at rescat.site to keep up to date. Ideas within Made of Stories have already been utilized in the creation of imprint-style projects, such as one called Many Rooms, which was exhibited as part of Dutch Design Week in 2020. Information regarding the Many Rooms project can be found on Instagram by visiting many.rooms.project. And again, you can find out information about this on the ResCap website at rescat.site. And that's the end. Thank you for stopping by and making it to this point. If you have any questions, comments, or inquiries, please get in touch. But for now, this is where we end. Thanks again, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Design Paradise. At the beginning, we gathered piles of dirt, chunks of wood, jars of stones. We made simple things, baskets and pouches, cloaks and clubs, huts and sticks, by just adding or subtracting material. One day, we started to mix things. Bronze, the mix of copper and tin, could be poured into forms of clay to make objects. The mold was invented. Molds were the beginning of design. They allowed us to make objects we could not conceive of before. Molds were a milestone of cognition, allowing us to give shapes to abstract thoughts. They opened doors to a new world of materiality, a new field of consciousness. Using objects to make objects, molds were a huge leap in second-order instrumentality. Second-order instrumentality grew and grew and grew, making objects, to make objects, etc., etc. We made simple things, baskets and pouches, cloaks and clubs, huts and sticks, by just adding or subtracting material. One day, we started to mix things. Bronze, the mix of copper and tin, could be poured into forms of clay to make objects. The mold was invented. Molds were the beginning of design. They allowed us to make objects we could not conceive of before. Molds were a milestone of cognition, allowing us to give shapes to abstract thoughts. They opened doors to a new world of materiality, a new field of consciousness. Using objects to make objects, molds were a huge leap in second-order instrumentality. Second-order instrumentality grew and grew and grew, making objects, to make objects, to make objects, etc., etc. Computers, cars, rockets, clothing, everything. We gain a sense of comfort, of certainty. We have taken objects for granted, but are they really? Objects not only serve needs and perform functions, they have escaped reality to create their own reality. As we have gained consciousness through the objects we made, objects have gained their own consciousness. A second-order consciousness, in which humans are just spectators. Objects are escaping the molds in which they were first made. This is the anti-mold, some kind of hyper-object, the end of design as we know it. The objects evolve in a parallel universe, a design paradise. They do not need a designer or a user. Objects are beings. They are like us. Perhaps better than us. They evolve, transform, combine, connect, creating the most unexpected shapes, unleashing imagination, creating new possibilities for themselves and for humans too, allowing new conditions of living with and without objects.
Hellfire missile launched off a US military drone in the Middle East is fired by the push of a button. A push from inside a container on US soil on the other side of the globe. Through fiber optic cables, the information to fire, transformed into a signal, is carried in a split second across the ocean to reach one of the main data relay stations, Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Amplified, the signal is sent over 16,000 kilometers away from Earth to reach the geostationary orbit. The satellite infrastructure becomes the bridge between operator in the US and aircraft in the Middle East. The image of the missile impact will be visible on the screen in the container back in the US with a delay of 3 to 5 seconds. In the combat with military drones, surveilling and killing opponents across the globe in real time becomes a matter of data transfer speed. Watching from above does not just depend on the size of the scope, but on image quality and pixels. Striking power not just on the size of a missile, but on bandwidth and low latency. When drone signals carrying information to kill share their infrastructure with the one we use to download, stream, watch television and listening to radio, doesn't proximity to the military realm become just a matter of a frequency in the air around us?
In the boundless extension of the world we live in, we do not necessarily believe in everything we see and get described, but still, we listen to accounts enabling us to discern the tracery of subtle patterns. What is the object of this reporting? The world? Some specific parts of it? In the beginning, we, as spectators, as people inhabiting the same world, are foreign to most of the mechanism of this world. Most of the time, the language proves to be incomprehensible, but surprisingly enough, some other times, new people, completely ignorant of the established languages, come in expressing themselves with gestures, leaps, cries of wonder or of horror, animal barkings or hootings, or with objects they took from their knapsack, which they arrange like chessmen, leaving open space for interpretation. But obscure or obvious as it might be, everything that is displayed has the power of emblems, a desert of labile and interchangeable data. What is the very first matter of any project? Thoughts, ideas. No matter how distant we travel, we will only tell the thoughts that come to a man who sits on his doorstep in the evening to enjoy the cool air. What is then the use of all this traveling? Wouldn't we be doing the same without moving? Somehow, the more one is lost in unfamiliar quarters of distant places, the more one understands the other places they had crossed to arrive there. Are we then advancing always with our head turned back? An exhibition space is a descriptive space that, first of all, has all the virtue of being a space you can wander through in thought, become lost, stop and enjoy the cool air, or run off. Exhibitions happen in places that are the work of the mind and of chance, but today neither the one nor the other suffices to hold up their walls. Retaining walls, stone steps descend, they're slippery. The crates are waiting for the departure. The temporality of exhibition is a dominant feature. Projects as exhibitions travel no stop. They know only departures and no returns. But what do they leave behind them? The world has grown too far towards the outside, and if cities cannot turn into kites or mosquito netting, then exhibition at least can try to bring into cities the power of growing in lightness, rather than growing endlessly. The different worlds portrayed in exhibitions is nothing apart from the outside world. Only our eyelids separate them. But we cannot know which is inside and which is outside.
We can just get used to being normal and not worrying about it recording.
Thank you everyone for coming. Basically, this was just something I thought was not necessarily interesting, but important, something to kind of show how much work has gone into this in such a short time frame, and pretty much on a voluntary basis. So it's been a really big kind of collaborative and communal push. So yeah, we're recording this, and the idea is to basically have it almost as like a DVD commentary of the exhibition in some sense. That's kind of the only plan I have for this. So yeah, we can see how we go. Anyway.
Yeah. Sounds good. Who's arriving? Yeah, whatever. And then Charlie, what do you want to, maybe you just want to come in the end, or do you want, as in like when we do the more general thing, or is there a part of the more production side or the shelves? I don't know if you want to. Maybe you can follow up with Helen after the shelves come up.
Something to say.
Well, should we start because we're all here?
Yeah.
Except for Sergi and graphics. Maybe it makes sense to start with Matt because the public program is coming up.
Yeah, finally.
Give an update on what's happening, if anything you need from anyone else, and then we go around.
Yeah, okay. I would say that thanks God we don't need much things from any of you because most of the job has been done already. It's about really like arranging and reshuffling things around. Tomorrow is actually going to be my first time in the space. I'm quite excited about it. Cinzia and Fede did an amazing job, very fast and very efficient in uploading all the content. And they also highlighted the workshops, the only 2 ones we're going to have, but good ones. And
live ones.
And live, yeah. And so, yeah, that's going to be a challenge, but let's see. The walking through the exhibition with Charlie, Hus, and the Graz, we should find a description for it, and the farewell, like the public goodbye.
But Matt Petro had maybe a nice idea that we have a Zoom call, and we try to just Zoom people, different grads, who can just contribute or say something.
Yeah.
Which could be really nice, because then it becomes a little bit more people who are, you know, in the different parts of the world where everyone is.
Yeah, I mean, definitely people abroad. I think like Marta, that was also an idea, wasn't it?
You're on mute, Mats.
I don't know, through a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. While we move, ideally, it wouldn't be this aesthetic thing.
We're just moving. No stasis.
No stasis.
Okay, that's it.
Maybe you think it makes sense to go to comms, so Marta, kind of what's going on and what's
going
coming up?
on in comms? Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but after Easter, our followers did Chola got us, promoted by this Instagram account called DISASSEMBLING, and also DISASSEMBLING magazine. So we're starting to be featured in different places, which is good. Once the graphic team is a bit more free, we're gonna ask them to make us graphics with the public program so we can promote exactly what's happening every day.
Marta's answer from Miguel, it's every day we're going to post the program for the daily schedule in the morning as a post, and then also do stories throughout the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Anna, I know there was at some point we were trying to get videos from grads to use on Instagram. I don't know.
We made a great plan of all these like a loop of videos or like grads interviewing each other, but it was just too hard to get all the missing links replying in time and making a good structure, so it collapsed completely.
Right? Maybe nice to go to you, editorial and kind of press.
Yeah, it's been an interesting day today. As was mentioned, Jeanette from Design Academy reached out to DAM magazine and Metropolis M. Yeah, the press release for public program went out last week. And then otherwise, I don't know if was that something, Charlie? No? Okay. When I have a better idea of what she has in mind, either I can connect with comms or whoever needs to be connected. So yeah, I think that's about it from editorial.
Okay, and then we haven't got Sergio here for graphics, but because he's busy making graphics. And then Sahel, you're kind of more production ending after public program, but maybe it's really nice to hear what's planned.
Hang on. Can you mute us? I've just put the plan in the Google Doc.
Which Google Doc, Hal?
Yeah.
If you go to the master plan schedule and you go to the end, underneath you'll see it in yellow, you have like a 3-day breakdown. Ideally, we need to start taking the TVs down.
Does every TV have its own remote?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like we received them and they were full, so I've got in my ear. Can you hear it? No. Taking the projects off the shelves, packing them up, sorting them into Eindhoven or Rotterdam. So the plan is to have 2 vans, one that does a trip within Rotterdam and one that does a trip back to Eindhoven.
And how are you planning to be there both days?
I can be there on Monday and Tuesday. It's then like, for example, like if Z comes, if I go on Monday and stay overnight, then maybe Z comes on Tuesday in the van with whoever's driving and like something like that. So there's a second Google Doc, which you guys haven't received yet because it's in an email. So Chola, if you can, could you send that email out for me? Because I haven't got the contacts. I mean, how do you do it normally?
I just do like reply all and then I change the subject to if we can.
But what you're saying is we can ask Design Academy and pick them up before we come. And then we use the Het Nieuwe Instituut ones down to the bottom of the lift and then we load on to the other. Okay.
That's true.
I love that you guys are in the same space. But
like that's the thing we need to kind of get across to people to say, can you come and wrap up other people's projects in this day? Like if you're willing to come, we will provide you with, can we provide them with lunch, for example, Chola? Like something like that. The people who then come to do like a full day of work to pack up other people's projects and build down shelves and everything. I think that's then I can put that in the email as well. Cool.
Okay, nice. I don't think I have anything else to update on. I don't think there was anything else. No. Great. Well, that concludes our BAT meeting.
Group therapy time.
Oh God.
We should have done the same.
That's what happened in my ear. Like I muted myself.
That's suspicious.
Is it on?
Yeah, I'm on. Okay, we're good. How is everyone's energy right now?
My energy's okay. It's up and down of like being like, whoa, this is too much, then getting really excited because everything's coming together and like the puzzle is starting to fit and we're getting closer. So you've got that like frenzy. But I do have moments where I just want to watch a movie in bed.
From next Monday onwards, you can do that.
No, after the breakdown.
Yeah, sorry, after Wednesday.
The physical and the mental breakdown.
But on my side, I'm happy. I mean, at least I had a change of I changed the view. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. But I'm also happy that we're kind of getting to the final part, I would say. And I think it's also very nice to just be here, like experiencing it with the people part of that. I feel like a priest now, so we're gonna cut these, but
Energy level right now, I think it's on a 7. But if like 1 hour ago, maybe it was on a 5. Also, when you get to this point that you're really tired, I think your energy goes up. So I think I'm entering this mood.
I think it's just adrenaline.
How do you feel, guys?
You mess it.
Well, I've been a bit out of the process because I started to work, but I've been, of course, following, and I'm really excited that it's coming together now, which is actually now this final climax point. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen and how it's all gonna finish and gonna start. So my energy level is about 4, but for other reasons, my excitement is about at 9 at the moment. So yeah, let's see what comes up this week.
I am also really high on energy because I looked at the website today. I was just scrolling down the whole program and reading all the titles of the workshops and radio programs and all of this, and it looks really exciting. And I'm really sad because I'm not in Rotterdam for the weekend, but I'm really looking forward to kind of follow from here.
It goes up and down depending on which mistakes I made on which day. Like this morning was a big surge of energy to my heart and my head when I realized that New Institute was closed and I had sent you all there today and it was shut. So sorry about that. But no, super excited to see all the public program stuff coming. Like I haven't been in any of these meetings where you've really discussed like the ins and outs. So I've kind of like had this dual perspective of being on the outside, like being a participant, but not being part of the kind of organizational team, except also knowing exactly how it needs to happen. So it's a bit of a weird one, but like not really like knowing that I can like every day I can hear there's a lot of stuff going on and like it's a lot of work. I understand that. And I'm like, wow, I can understand exactly that you're all working so hard, but I don't know what on. And I got to see it, you know, I got to see the website and the public program and everything. It's like, this is it. It's so cool. And so nice to see so many names there. And people who aren't here as well. Like there are like, it is a real coming together, which is really beautiful. There's been like this core team to kind of make it happen, but like it's, yeah, all these participants makes it feel real, does feel like a kind of closure, which is really, really nice as well.
It is less closure than opening up.
Yeah, Marta, this reminds me of our awkward conversation about endings on the podcast. Like, you know, it's coming to the end of this 5 weeks. So we've been in Het Nieuwe Instituut and producing this exhibition, creating it during the 5 weeks. But then, like, is it really the ending? And like, it's hard not to be cliche that, like, well, an ending. What is it? With every door that's closed, a new window is opened.
Exactly. This is what's happening.
I kind of had another half question, but I think we kind of covered it anyway.
What is the half question?
The half question was something, I say half because I've forgotten.
You've forgotten half of it.
I've forgotten half of it.
I guess I can respond to the question. Yeah, I'm a bit hungry, but it's fine.
Doors, windows, open.
I now remember the question. A lot of things that happened were very real. #realness.
What's the countdown to the public program? Minus 48 hours.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be amazing.